everything we've done around all of these prints, all of these multiple versions, have been 100% incorrect. So that is an enormous setback. It has been a while since we started this process, and from all of the prints in front of me you can see this has been quite an iterative process, trying to completely redesign the mechanism to operate these two switches with our pedals. Instead of having them mounted at the bottom, we're mounting them at the top off the steering column brackets. And that's all well and good, but it means that the additional months that we spent making these brackets are completely worthless, and we're starting from scratch. So how do we get the pedal to actually operate the switch now it's mounted at the top rather than at the bottom? Well, fortunately it's going to be a much simpler and more elegant mechanism than anything we had to build before, which is a massive win. I am about to go into a bit of a deep dive on this whole assembly though, and if you don't want to sit and see how the sausage got made of all of this iterative printing, you can probably skip to this time code if I remember to put it in the edit, and just go to when we're installing all of this, hopefully tomorrow once the final prints are done. If you do want to see how the sausage is made, however, stick around. So we started making some little paddle inserts that would go in the back of the pedals just to get the clearance around the steering column. So you've got the steering column here, and we just wanted this to move past freely because we don't want these extensions to bind up and either stop the pedal going down or stop the pedal coming back up. Both are bad, one is worse than the other. So after a number of iterations around that, with both the brake pedal and the clutch pedal, we found another issue. The clutch pedal switch is significantly stronger, or at least the spring in it is significantly stronger than the one in the brake pedal. And with the arrangement of the paddles that we had, which was something akin to this basically, there was an enormous amount of flex in the top of this clutch pedal one. It just wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to be able to get enough pushing force without deflecting. So we put that on hold and we started designing the holder that actually has the switch in to see if we can cheat it back across without getting too much flex. And we did. Fortunately, the clutch switch, when it goes into here, actually sits directly above the clutch pedal. So we can make a nice, strong paddle to go into the back of it, like that. And the clutch switch is directly above it. And it sits roughly speaking like that. Now, holding this, you can see another problem. With only a single mounting point under here, this whole paddle just wants to push away. As soon as it contacts either one, even the light one, it still wants to push away a little bit. And it's very difficult to hold it in place. No amount of just torquing this down and pinching onto the extra paddle is going to help that. So we have to punch another hole through these pedals, mark it on here, put another hole through, and then we'll have 2 points, and it should reduce the flex an enormous amount. Now we want to get that hole as far away from here as possible, so it's going to be right up at the top. And that will hopefully, as I say, I use that word an awful lot, reduce a lot of the flex in this, and we'll be able to operate those two switches with the paddles with a little bit more success. Now, that did mean that we had to take the whole pedal box apart, because I looked at the option of drilling the hole through this in situ, and it was just going to be a nightmare. There was no way we could control how far forward and back it was or anything, so we just scrubbed it, pulled the whole thing apart, and got on with, well, we haven't got on with drilling the hole yet, because that's the next thing to come. But once we have that, we'll be able to do our final, hopefully, 10th version of these paddles, install them onto the pedals, and then rebuild the whole thing. We also need to make one more version of this bracket as well. This mounts onto the steering column adjustable support. So this bolts onto the crossbar, and then the steering column goes up and down on this little hinge, but there is a nice big framework that we can mount the switches off. Unfortunately, even like it is now, there is still a little bit of flex in this because this isn't a massive arm. So we need to add yet more strengthening onto the actual switch bracket, which I can show you fully assembled when I find where I put the clutch switch. There we go. And that will mount into the top of the pedal box, off the steering column mounting bracket, as I said, and hopefully they will operate really nicely. We've got a little bracket that goes on the back as well, just to stop them being pushed out the back of the pedal. We're not just relying on friction. We have got a mechanical fixing to stop them going back and forth. So once we've printed yet another version of these, yet another version of this. We can reassemble all of this tomorrow when it's light, because we've already lost the daylight. Now it's early December. Get this whole thing sorted, and with a bit of luck, you'll actually be able to see what I've been talking about for the past 4 minutes, because frankly, visualizing this is very, very difficult. And even when we're down inside the pedal box, it's not even that easy for either of us to see either.
And you're rejoining me tomorrow afternoon where everything has gone absolutely swimmingly and I am in my favourite place in the whole world under this car in the footwell. Now here is the evidence that the final few steps of this piece didn't go quite as efficiently as we thought. This is all our test prints from this morning, but thankfully, with all those out the way, we are now actually quite well placed. This is all together, and although we've had to do quite a lot of we move this bit, then we move that bit, and then it turns out by moving this bit, we affect that bit. So it's been a bit of a prick to get to where we are, but finally we've got a good paddle in here operating the switch properly. So down here in the footwell on our fancy new 360 camera, we can see our brake pedal switch in its housing, bolted to the framework, and with the paddle coming up from the top of the brake pedal. This is all bolted into place now, so this is all actually quite proper, and this is actually behaving pretty much perfectly. So when I press the brake pedal down, now admittedly I shouldn't really be able to press it this far by hand, we'll fix that another time. When it comes back up, it does make contact with the switch and fully depress the plunger. So, as long as the clutch pedal goes similarly perfectly, we're finally done under here. Which I shouldn't have said out loud, because I've just completely torpedoed us. So we haven't got the actual hydraulic cylinder connected to the pedal here, right? So we've got no natural spring back from the clutch itself, mostly because there's no clutch attached at the other end of this yet. But when the pedal comes up all the way into its end stop here, we do press that plunger in fully as well. So this actually is done, I think, I hope. That's the dream anyway. But yeah, for now we're looking pretty good. Now, while we've been waiting for all those brake bits down there to actually print, although we've been tied up doing quite a bit of CAD work and test fitting, we do get downtime to go on other bits and pieces, and obviously we're on a bit of a 3D printing and CAD kick at the minute, so we've taken the opportunity to solve another problem. Now, it's not a particularly big or interesting one, to be honest, but it is nonetheless still a part that we need to make. So on the car, we're going to need an OBD2 port, partly for getting telemetry out when we're on track days. It's going to be nice to know how hot our oil is and that sort of thing. And partly so that when we're getting the ECU worked on and tuned, there's actually an interface to do that with. Now, our prevailing opinion is basically once this thing is in, it can pretty much just stay there forever. So we can tuck it away somewhere nice and out of the way where we're not going to hit it and it's not going to use up any sort of visible dash space or anything. And we've kind of bounced a few ideas around. Do we stick it on this panel here, or do we tuck it like down in the side somewhere, or what have you? And we kind of landed on, there's an unused section of dash panel here, a little square just right of where our head unit's going to be, just below the instrument cluster, that is absolutely unused. All that was going to go there before is a flat piece of black plastic. And we thought, well, screw it, we can just put it in that. Now, the slightly tricky thing is this port is not exactly intended for like aftermarket retrofitting-y applications. So it doesn't have a nice, through hole fit to just bolt it onto a panel or anything. So we're going to have to 3D model and CAD something that it like clips into to kind of mimic how it would have gone on the car that we robbed it off. I'm not sure if this is the A3 or a TT or whatever else, but we're going to have to replicate what was there. And the reality is, by the time you've done that, you may as well put it on the back of a panel and just tuck it out of the way properly, because it's not really any easier to put it here or kind of under there somewhere. So we can keep it out of the way. We can make sure we're not going to like kick it or hit it when we're going for the stalks and everything. And we're going to see if we can tuck it on the back of this panel under here. Has a nice side effect. It means the wiring run is nice and short. We can go straight into our loom, straight in here. Just keeps everything nice and easy.
We've had this panel made for some time, just to cover a hole in the dash by the steering wheel and not really much else, so making this add-on just required an edit of that model, adding the geometry for the OBD port. That said, the geometry is pretty complex around the port, lots of tight tolerances to get right, and instead of trying to put that directly into the model of the panel itself, I made the model into a separate one. I started with a sketch of the basic outline, just the end of the plug where the OBD reader connects and sized against measurements from the plug using calipers. This is the aperture the plug will have to pass through and protrude far enough to allow the reader to fully seat on the port. The tolerance needs to be close, but not a tight fit. The clips will hold it snugly in place, but you also don't want it rattling around in the housing. If it can rattle now, it'll rattle when you're driving too. I printed a few of these test pieces, only a few millimeters thick with small changes between each one in order to get a decent fit around the edges. It's much faster to do small iterative slices like this than to try and finesse every detail at this stage. One face is extended, blocking off 3 of the 4 channels from the previous sketch. These are where 3 tangs come off the main body of the connector and have the retention clips which will stop it sliding in or out once it's installed. There are also 3 pockets, which are added for some alignment pins which stick out from the sides of the connector. One of these is between those 2 clips, and the other 2 are on the corners either side of the 3rd clip. You can see these pins sticking out on the video here, and here, and here. The ends of the clips are ramped on one side, so we need a relief for them to fit, allowing them to flex outwards and latch, holding the connector in. I chamfered each of the 3 clip relief channels to make room for them once they'd passed through the back of the housing. Finally, we need something for those clips to actually latch to. I sketched an outline of the rear faces, covering the chamfer I just created, which is only 1 mm deep, using the reference geometry, and extruded those up. Now I had a working model for the housing, I just need to add it to the panel in the dash. Instead of remaking the whole thing sketch by sketch, I can add that file we just finished into the existing panel model. I made an extension to the rear of the panel which will hold the OBD socket inside the dash. I cut out a matching hole the same size as the outside dimensions of the socket frame, added the STL and positioned it to align with the cutout I just made in the panel model. Now, when the panel model is exported, the socket is included as a single STL ready to print.
So here's the final piece. We've got relief features in there for the clips to go into, and it's nicely contoured around the actual port, so I should just be able to slip that in there. So we can pop our OBD2 reader on, press fit the panel into place, just like that. And now we have a nice hidden but working OBD2 port.
What we could have done with some of this weather yesterday, it rained hard whilst we were trying to get these wires in, so we got nothing filmed. Chris has had to go back, so I am installing the fruits of his labour into the dash. We've got the 3 wires connected, power, ground and signal, and this all just pulls through and clips into the dash like this. So that's all good, but there is still a bunch more to do in here where we need to sort out a lot of this wiring. We've got the wires for the wing mirror controls, and we've got to check that all of those still work and get that all wired in and then tidy all of this away. But that's going to be a later date after we've tested more things, including the ECU, to make sure we don't need to come back in here. The fuse box is still just kind of dangling at the moment because we probably need to wire in a couple of fuses, not least so we can actually have a radio in here because we stripped all of that cabling out, and we need to run its own independent loom to run the wiring and go into the speakers and everything else that'll be in here. So there's a bunch more to do, so I'm not going to be too precious about trying to tidy this up right now. I don't think it's worth it, and whatever we do, we're probably going to have to unpick and then we kick ourselves anyway. So please forgive the state of this wiring loom and everything around it. So if you've enjoyed this, thanks very much for watching. Like the video, let us know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the little bell as well. If you'd like to support the build on this, you can go to patreon.com/PedalBox show, where you can support us over there. And if you're a supporter, you'll also get a discount at shop.pedalbox.show, where you can buy all sorts of merch, and that all goes to help supporting the builds as well. So thanks very much for watching. We'll see you in the next episode when we're going to get more of this done and get closer and closer to actually turning this key and seeing if it all still works. Hopefully it does. It would be really disappointing if we had to do loads and loads of work just to get the engine running again, but that is a risk that we take. Thanks for watching. See you then.